Welcome to the episode 2 of the mysterious twins who alter the fate of the future and of course themselves. This is episode 2. If you have not followed the story so far, kindly check the description below to start the story from the very beginning, and then we can continue together. So we follow the story of Nana and Nari to this point, and we laid a background in episode 1 on how the village of Mambele used to be before the birth of Nana and Nari. Few days after the birth of Nana and Nari, the prominent men in the village gathered and decided to consult the art of magic if the birth of these girls was indeed a blessing to the land. After consultation by the priest, it was revealed that indeed Nimfa had defiled himself by engaging in the use of dark magic. The art of magic was not happy with the entire village. How could they allow such a thing to happen? If they didn't do anything about it, things might reverse to the way they used to be. In fact, it might even get worse. The men had to consider what was at stake and make a critical decision. 1 month later, they announced that for the benefit of the land, Nimfa and his small family would have to leave the land for good. Though the man denied his involvement in the use of dark magic, as he had been accused, the people had to force him to leave anyway. The fear of going back to how they used to be was far more greater than the fear of death for them. The following day, Nimfa and his small family was accompanied to the village border, where they were sent away out of the village. The forest beyond Mambele was not in any way friendly. When the journey seemed to be getting tougher, Lyop had to propose that they return to Mambele and simply admit to the people that they had actually made use of dark magic. But Nimfa, with a strong and big head, made her understand that that idea would only lead to the untimely death of their girls. Lyop's thinking was enhanced by that simple fact, and she dropped the opinion and stuck with her husband. As they journeyed into the forest, they journeyed with the hope of bursting into another village where they would be accepted and allowed to raise their girls without the unreasonable intrusion of the people of Mambele. Nimfa's bravery and determination was brought alive during this course. For most part of the journey, he starved himself so as to keep his wife and kids in good shape. Whatever little food he had was saved for the girls. Lyop ate only when the need grew beyond her limit. After journeying the forest for 4 days and nights, without a hint of another village in their direction, Nimfa started considering other options. 2 days later, luck was bestowed upon the little family. Nimfa stumbled on an uncompleted building, and the building looked like it had been abandoned. Without anyone permitting him, Nimfa knew he had eventually found a home where he would calmly nurture his girls. Whoever had constructed the uncompleted building must have done so for him. This was his luck working for him. The environment was clearly deserted, but there was the hope of making it lively. If he cleared the area and tidied everything up, the place would become a village soon enough. Lyop had later argued that something bad might have befallen the people who built the house. Nimfa, always with his big head, had asserted that it was good fate that brought them towards the house. Lyop had laid low and did everything she could to make her family happy in their new environment. It took only a few days to put the house back in order. Nimfa had cleared a good portion of the land around the house and beautified the place with everything he could gather. Lyop started gathering vegetables for the family's consumption. And little by little, the family was able to start afresh, only that they now resided somewhere in the heart of the earth. And this was how the family lived for 12 years before something strange happened. Nana and Nari were 12 when they were confronted with what would haunt them for the rest of their lives. Other than themselves, the only other human they had ever come in contact with were their parents. Father had told them on several notes that there were actually other people in faraway places, but they were not worth coming in contact with because their hearts were full of evil. The picture that formed in the mind of the girls about the other people Father had talked about was vague, but it was the only picture they had. The environment in which Nana and Nari grew up in was something that had shaped them to what they were now. Their everyday life was a familiar routine. The house they lived in was the only description of a house. Any other picture would amaze them. Every morning, Nana and Nari's first chore was always at the farm, which was about 8 kilometers away from the house. Father spent most of his morning alone in his inner chamber, while Mother was saddled with the responsibility of preparing what the family would eat for the day. Afternoons were not so different, only that the family worked at home in togetherness, including Father. Evenings were always refreshing as Father would tell stories of people in those faraway places to these girls. According to one of Father's stories, they had been living with people in one of those faraway places before they were forced to run away because the people wanted to kill the girls. Upon hearing the story, the girls' hatred for the people in those faraway places grew exceedingly. They expressed their appreciation to Father for fleeing. They simply would have been dead long before now if Father hadn't taken the initiative to flee. Their intelligence didn't even push them to ask why the people had wanted to kill them. Not that it would matter anyway. Whatever Father said was the only thing that mattered. One fateful afternoon, Nana and Nari returned from the farm as they did every other day, only to discover that their parents were lying on the floor outside the house. That was something very unusual of their parents. It was Nana that first ran towards Father. There were marks all over his body, as though he had recently engaged in a fight with somebody. His clothes were soaked in blood. His eyes were staring towards the heavens. Mother's appearance was no different. At first, the young girls couldn't quite understand what was going on. What were Mother and Father trying to demonstrate? It wasn't quite long before the reality of what had befallen them confronted them. Father and Mother had been murdered by those people in faraway places. I hope you enjoyed the story so far, and I'm sure you're wondering how this story turned events and of course change the future. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't, so that you can get more episodes about Nana and Nari, the mysterious twins, and of course to allow more people to be able to see the video and to get to learn about African folktales. Thank you so much for joining us so far. I hope that we have been able to add value to you in this story. Please look up for the next episode.